David Hertel in for Elias. Let's jump in right away. Very excited to have our next guest on. She is the mayor of Montreal, Valerie Plante. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Last time we spoke, I think it was 3 years ago. I was still immigration minister. We had announced, I think, funding together to help integrate.
Why, it's nice to hear you right now. It's great.
It's great to hear you. I think because we haven't spoken since then, so it's great. A lot has happened to both of us since then.
Yes, absolutely.
But more to you than to me. First up, I have a ton of questions, so I'll try to get them all in. First of all, the state of emergency. Yeah. So you're lifting this starting Friday. Maybe quickly, what's the rationale behind that? Because, the first reaction, and we were talking about it earlier on the show, people will say, well, we're in the middle of fourth wave. The province is still in state of emergency mode. Why is the city feeling this is important at this juncture?
Yeah, so I guess it's important to say that the state of emergency of the province of Quebec versus the city of Montreal is different. For the government of Quebec, it's about vaccination and putting rules or law, for example, the vaccination passport and things like that. Where for the city of Montreal, it's more how do we make sure that some of the action, for example, requisite some spaces for to do. Not so much vaccination, but when we did some testing or to support the homeless population back during the first wave. So I guess what I want to tell citizens is there's nothing to worry because the alert level is still there. We're still vigilant, but we're able to do everything right within our processes. Really, it's more what this is all about. And right now, what I want to encourage all Montrealers to do is to get vaccinated because this is the key. But for no reason, it means that, there's no more COVID and it's not important, not at all. But it's pretty much like a managing decision we did.
Okay, clear enough. Moving to climate change, this is a big issue for you and Projet Montréal.
I know you care about that a lot as well.
I really do. And you've made a lot of very important announcements over the last few weeks. Plastics, electrification, pesticides. You're really pushing on this. What I want to get to is housing. And I know this is a big topic for you as well. You've been talking about it for years. It was a big campaign promise when you were running originally in 2017. You've worked hard with the other governments. But I want to relate that to the density issue. And you've positioned yourself, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you want to limit the height of buildings in Montreal. And I get the reasoning, but I've always wanted to ask you, from a climate change perspective, there are a lot of climate change advocates that would say, well, you have to densify more, and actually building taller buildings is a solution to fight urban sprawl. So from a climate change perspective and thinking, we are in a housing crisis, it's not going away, how do you tie those two ideas together? I'm really curious about that.
No, it's a very good question. And for me, so let's put something clear right now. I'm not against density. And like you said, if we want to reach our goal of, fighting climate change, we want to have more people living in the same place, using, having less bigger houses, or at least to be close to transport options. So this is all good. But there's different ways to do density. And what I do not agree with is to do the density model of the 50s. Which was to do big, towers everywhere. And so in Montreal, there's ways, not only do we have space, I'm thinking about, there's the Blue Line being built right now, there's the REM as well. So why do we have to concentrate everything downtown, first of all? And second of all, there are different ways to do density. And this is really what I question, and I'm against the fact that we would hide our Mont-Royal, which is one of the greatest symbols. For Montreal, we have the Fleuve Saint-Laurent, we have the mountains. We cannot hide that treasure. We need to take care of it. So let's do density, but let's do it right in a way that fits with the 21st century.
So to be clear, even your quote unquote modern way of doing density, you would be for certain high rises. You're not
Absolutely.
against. So how does that dovetail into your 2020 policy? Because that's, there's a lot of pushback on it. We've seen over the last few weeks a lot of reports in the media about promoters circumventing and being able to just either pay the fine or just ignore it. How would a second Plante administration tackle that very important issue? Because it doesn't seem the 2020 is working.
Oh, well, that's not true at all. And the fact is, let's be honest. We just introduced the 2020 in April. It's going to probably take at least a year or two before we see all the results. I think there's a question we need to ask ourselves as a society, because right now, the people we're hearing that are against it are the promoters. And I work really well with a lot of promoters. But maybe they also need to look at their model. Doing some affordable housing and social housing and family housing is not against them. And it doesn't mean that you cannot do density. We need to divide those two. But ultimately, there's always a margin of profit. And I do understand that, people that build houses, they want to have some profit. That, they're entitled to do so. But we need to question ourselves. Why do we hear mostly the voice of people that, don't want to decrease their margin of profit versus people that want to stay in Montreal? And I'm not talking about social housing only. I'm talking about the middle class. And the 2020 actually tackles that with a bylaw that, by the way, is being looked at in other places in the country. I've received calls from other cities in the United States that are saying we cannot let only promoters decide on how we're going to build and what is needed. Cities, states, countries need to get involved into finding solutions for the housing crisis.
Turning to politics, of course, about 2 weeks ago, you had your first debate with the other mayoral candidates. And during that debate, you mentioned a poll that showed that the race was tightening between you and your primary opponent, Denis Coderre. Projet Montréal sent out that poll. It was a Léger poll. I got a copy of it from your organization. And in that poll, interestingly enough, there was another number that says that a lot of Montrealers, like over 50% of Montrealers, are interested in seeing a change in Montreal. It's about, I think it's around 56%. How do you take that? And what do you tell Montrealers who feel there needs to be a change in Montreal?
Well, I think that especially when you're coming out of a crisis, we've been through pandemic, and I think I take it in a positive way that people want change. But then if we would dig into what kind of change they want, this is where it would get very interesting, right? Because change can mean so many things. But for me, I believe, and those numbers that we got show that we actually represent that change. We've been able during the last 4 years to show that not only are we capable and we're good at managing the finances and making the right decisions, but at the same time, we're able to adapt and find solutions. There is no other party right now that talks about climate change, which is very sad. And because this is what's coming up. And so far, people are seeing in us, for example, the party that is able to adapt and make changes. That being said, and I've been very honest about that, is that, I've made mistakes in the last 4 years. And, I'm definitely, I've learned so much. And so I do want to accompany the population through those necessary changes, but I will do it with, more wisdom, a better team. This is why I went for so many different candidates to support me to be a better mayor. But I truly believe that the changes that needs to happen within the city of Montreal we're the right party to do so.
Mayor Valerie Plante, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us this morning.
It was my pleasure. So you got to invite me again.
Absolutely. It was always a pleasure. And thank you very much for taking the time.
Have a great day.
You too. Take care. That was Montreal Mayor Valerie Plante talking to us about several issues. We talked a lot about climate change, which is a welcome addition to the municipal campaign.